Hey, it's Jessie from Squeegee Ink and welcome back to Printer's Corner. And in this episode we've got 3 questions for you that we've been asked all around the internet and on social media. And the questions this week are about the kind of Pantone mixing system we use for plastisol ink. The second one is about the screen sizes that we choose to print with garments. And the third one is the need for tape when we're using photo emulsion. If you didn't catch last week's episode, you might have missed our new segment, which is called the community poll. And if you stick around to the end of the episode after the questions, I'm going to introduce that segment to you. If you'd like me to answer a question in a little bit more detail like this, just remember to use hashtag Printer's Corner when you're asking the question, or just ask it in our DMs and I'll be sure to answer that in a future episode. Our first question is by Chris Montgomery, and they said, hashtag Printer's Corner, what plastisol colour mixing system / inks do you use? Love your content and thanks for all the handy tips and tricks. Thanks Chris. We actually use the International Coatings Pantone mixing system. For those of you who don't know what a Pantone mixing system is, it's basically a formula of how to mix certain colours of ink. So we basically are given about 12 different colours, and what we're trying to do is match a very specific colour to the one that the customer wants and provided us. So Pantone has all the different colours. They'll have like a very specific red. They're telling you to match it. But often some people are trying to just mix that by eye, but a Pantone mixing system means that they tell you exactly how much yellow, how much red, all the different colours to mix to exactly match the Pantone that the customer wants you to do. So it's really, really handy, saves loads of time, and it just means you're wasting a lot less ink. And it's just a bit more professional saying that you can mix inks to Pantone colours and references. We have actually made a very specific YouTube video about the colour mixing system that we use for plastisol inks, and it's called How to Mix Pantone Colours for Screen Printing Using the International Coatings Mixing System. So hopefully if you watch that, Chris, you'll see exactly what we do, why we do it, and like even the scales that we're using and all sorts of things. So hopefully you'll find that really useful. And even if you're not mixing to Pantone yet, it's a really good video to see if you want to get into it in the future. Our second question is from Willem Magdin, and they said, hi mate, I'm starting my own clothing brand. I need you to answer a question. Do you use the same size screen for all garments? Yes, we do. We've also got our own t-shirt brand, and we realised quite quickly that we need to standardise the screen size. So we go for 2331s, and that refers to the outside dimensions of the screen in inches, so 23 by 31. The reason that works for us is because our cruiser can hold that screen and we don't have to adjust the sizes too much. We've got all the screens the same, which means that we can coat them all at the same time with the same scoop coater. They all go in our screen racks really easily. There's no messing around there, so we can dry them really quickly. We've also got a template where we can place the artwork onto the template and expose the screens in the same place every time, which is very, very quick. We can also register them quickly, so there's loads of knock-on reasons why standardizing the screen size is good. It also means we can grab a screen regardless of the print size on the garment, and also doesn't matter what the garment is, because with our big screens we can print sleeves. We can print 2 sleeves on the same screen if we want. We can do a really large oversized print on the back of a t-shirt or a hoodie or a jacket, and we can still grab that screen for doing left chests or little small images in the center or whatever, and even neck labels if we wanted to. And sometimes it looks like you're wasting screen area, but I wouldn't worry about that. It's much better to standardize your screen size than trying to grab little screens, big screens, and having all these variables in the studio are just causing waste and slowing you down. Another additional point, which is actually like future-proofing ourselves, is that say if we want to jump to an automatic press, then autos can't hold little baby screens. They have to hold large screens just because that's the way the clamps work. So we'll be able to use our 2331s when we get an auto, or if we get an auto. So it just means that we're saving money in the long run and making sure that we're going to keep our equipment and not have to get rid of all of our screens if we were to upgrade. There is something that I want to point out, which is when you're starting out, you might think you want to go for little screens because it's cheaper, or say you might go for a little one like that because you're just doing a left chest on this occasion, for example. The problem with that is that you're limited by a couple of different things. First of all, you'd probably have to hand hold this screen on the t-shirt to print it, which is going to give you some printing issues because you're not going to have a snap and that type of thing. But also, you're going to very quickly want to upgrade, especially if you're printing for your own brand, to at least a single arm press. So if you have little screens like this knocking around that you pay for, you're going to have to attach this little baby screen to the single arm press, which is going to hold it on one side. And then as it pivots, you're basically only going to be able to print that image on like a belly button section of your t-shirt, which is obviously not what you want. So yeah, it's not very useful, and it's a bit of a false economy and a little bit of a waste of money. I get why you might want to save some money, but it doesn't in the long run. So yeah, I'd avoid that. Go for the big screens first of all, and you can put a couple of images on them, but just make life easy for yourself. Use the big screen, and then you've got plenty of room around the image for tape and inks and making sure that your squeegee can even fit in the screen. Our third question is from Jake. I'm sorry if I've said that wrong. And they said, why tape if you're using the photo emulsion? I'm very new to this. You have to think about what you're doing to the screen after you finish printing. You're either going to be using the screen and then doing a color change, or you're going to be completely reclaiming the screen by taking the ink and the emulsion off for a new print run. So if you're just doing a color change, you might want to put down lots of tape on your screen, which just means when you come to clean the screen, it's much easier because you can just whip the tape off, put the tape in the bin, and then you've also actually lifted off loads of the ink as well. It just means that there's a smaller surface area to clean with some chemicals, because the chemicals are pretty expensive and they might be a bit smelly and awkward to clean up. So you can put more tape down to make cleaning easier. If you're not going to be doing a color change and you're just going to be reclaiming your screen, then there's no need to tape all over it. You just need to put tape on the open areas of mesh, or the areas of the mesh that don't have photo emulsion on them. For example, you'd want to put tape over registration marks and also any areas of open mesh around the image area on the edges. The reason you don't need to use lots of tape on your screen when you know you're going to reclaim it is because when you're washing out a screen in your dip tank, it's much easier to clean a larger area of plastisol ink off. So to round up this week's question of why we use the same size screen for all garments, and the answer is simply to standardize things.
Community poll.
This is the segment of the show called Community Poll. And if you want to get involved with this segment and cast your vote, you can go on our YouTube channel, and under the Community tab, you can see all the different polls and questions that we've asked the community. This week's question was, the customer wants you to print them a shirt to check your quality, then they'll put in the order. And the most popular answer in this poll was, heard that one before, no way. And that came out with 41% of all the votes casted. So I think that's quite a funny one, because when you're a new printer, you might just print them the shirt, maybe do them a very bespoke sample and just hope and pray that they put in a larger order in the end. But when you've been printing for a few years, you start to recognize this pattern where people ask you that maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 times a week to check your quality. So I think what the printers are saying when they're answering like that is that it's much better to have something like a shop shirt where you printed with water-based ink versus plastisol ink or something like that, maybe with your own logo on, that you can give customers as an example of your quality, but then maybe don't just print their design on the shirt they want, because you're actually just using a lot of your time and resources to try and get the job, which might not even come in the end. So it's much better to have a shop shirt that you can give them, and it's even seen as a bit of a present and an incentive to go with your print studio. I hope you liked this episode of Printers Corner. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue making these videos for you. And also you can add a question in the comments anywhere on social media, or even in the comments below this video using hashtag Printers Corner, and I'll be sure to pick that up in a future episode. And also don't forget to vote in the poll, and I'll show those answers in the future episodes as well.